how's it going? Stout Man coming back at you once again, and today I'm going to talk to you about some things that I picked up from Half Price Books Outlet. They had another dollar sale going on at Half Price Books Outlet, and I gotta say, this time around it's a little bit more annoying than usual. And usually the people who shop at that store, like me, are respectful. They are nice. They are decent human beings. They aren't annoying kind of assholes that you expect to find at Walmart. But this time around, they were very much those annoying assholes. I'm sorry, but they really were. There was a guy who stood in front of the frickin' DVDs and made it impossible for anybody to see what was there. And I'm sure it was because he was getting frustrated with so many people being there, but at the same time, it's just like, dude, if we're all being patient, then you also have to be patient. You know what I mean? Yes, it's a very busy day because there's a very big sale going on, but patience. I went there on 5 hours of sleep after having gone house hunting for 6 friggin' hours. You didn't see me complaining. You didn't see me saying, well, I deserve to be able to see everything before everybody else. Just wait. Just wait. Stop trying to infiltrate your way in there ahead of everybody else. And then there are these people who bring their carts in there when there's no room for a cart. And I'm pretty sure they do that specifically because they want to be able to push people out of the way or just kind of force them out of the way with their freaking cart. Of course, there's too much to go. There's so much that was going on there that was so annoying. But I still found some pretty cool stuff, you guys. So I'm going to show you all the cool things that I found today. And we're going to start off with the Blu-rays. First off, I found The Pirates, a movie I actually have not seen yet. And yes, it has this little piece of plastic up top, but it cost $1. So I figured, yeah, I would definitely like to check this out. It's from, I can't remember who exactly did this, but you know, it's the claymation kind of style. And as I recall, my brother said this is pretty funny. And I've seen a lot of scenes from the movie, I've seen the trailer, and then I've seen a couple of scenes online and stuff like that. And it strikes me as something that I'm definitely going to enjoy. So for $1, I was very happy to pick this up and give it a shot. Next up, I found one of these Mill Creek double packs here of The Squid and the Whale and Running with Scissors. So basically 50 cents for both movies. I've never seen either of these movies, but I've always been interested in checking them out. It's just that these double packs have gone for really cheap in the past, and I didn't really want to pay a whole lot of money to get this double pack. So $1? Yeah, I'll pay $1 for that. Pretty damn good price. And of course the disc was in very good condition, so can't wait to finally check these movies out. Next up, I found Bad Lieutenant. Now, I already have the original on Blu-ray. Before you go, wait a minute, why did you get that? Because Nicolas Cage, man, he is so crazy, so ridiculous in this movie. And half the time throughout the movie, he sounds like he's got a really bad cold or something like that. And I wonder if he actually did have a cold while doing this movie, and he just did it anyways because money and because a chance to be ridiculous on the big screen. Whatever the case may be, I really did enjoy this movie. I didn't necessarily... which one's better, the original or this one? I don't care. What I care about is that I enjoyed this movie. And I wouldn't say it's like a 9 out of 10, but it's still a 7, 6.5 maybe, but more probably on the 7 side. 7 out of 10 kind of movie. Very enjoyable. Always love seeing Nick Cage go crazy on screen. Anytime he has one of those freak out moments, it's just a joy to watch, and this movie is chock full of those moments, so absolute must for anybody who likes those moments. Next up, I finally found a movie that I have been on the hunt for quite some time for a halfway decent price, and I've not been able, and I mean, until now, the best price I had seen on it was $7. So the mere fact that I was able to find it here for $1, that is so freaking awesome. I love this movie across the universe. Perfect movie if you're a Beatles fan or even if you just like Beatles music. Very, very cool movie. I really enjoyed it. I think the trailer, honestly, was a little bit better than the movie because the trailer made it look like it was going to be such a great movie, and it just ended up being a pretty good movie, you know what I mean? Yeah, a little disappointing in that area, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to pay too much money for it, but can't complain about $1. That's a pretty good price for this movie, especially considering that I've been waiting for it to be a good price for quite some time, and I've been wanting to pick it up for a long time. So, yeah, and before anybody says anything about, like, oh, but they're in the DVD cases from Blockbuster, like, yeah, I don't care about that because I can get replacement cases. I have replacement cases, like, big freaking whoop. Instead of $1, it's going to be $1.25. Okay, whatever. Next up, I found the Blockbuster exclusive edition of Battle in Seattle, which I do quite enjoy. I watched this movie quite some time ago. I want to say it was probably shortly after it came out, like in 2000, was it 2007? This was a movie, a docu-drama, if you will, focusing on the events of the World Trade Organization riots that took place in Seattle in, I want to say 2000, maybe 1999, maybe 2001. I don't think it was 2001, though. I think it was before 9/11. So, yeah, either way, really, I remember that moment because I'm from the area, so I remember it. Really, really good movie about it. Really cool, very well done movie. Something that really doesn't get a lot of recognition or notice nowadays. I'm sure most people didn't watch it because they didn't know what the hell it was about, and other people just didn't give a fuck, you know. But I do recommend checking this out. You got Woody Harrelson in there. It's a pretty good movie. Next up, last for the Blu-rays, I believe, is Law Abiding Citizen. This is the unrated director's cut, and that's pretty much the reason I decided to pick it up. It's really not the best movie, but it's a fun little popcorn flick that I wouldn't mind watching again once or twice, and for $1, that's a pretty good deal right there. It's probably like a 6 out of 10, but yeah, again, it's a fun movie. It's something that you can sit down and watch and veg out to, and I don't mind paying $1 for that, to have that in my collection. Even though, oh, it's in the Blockbuster case, I don't care. Now then, before I get into the DVDs, I'm just going to show you the one video game that I picked up, and that would be SSX for the PlayStation 2. You can't beat $1, and SSX is a fantastic series. I've never actually played this particular game, but I played SSX Tricky for the GameCube, and I really loved it. So I've always wanted to check out the SSX game here, and it was in pretty much perfect condition. Like, it's one of the earlier releases, so it's the blue disc, which I think is pretty cool. But the funny thing is, I don't even have a PS2. I don't have a PS2, so I can't play this game. But I keep buying PS2 games under the assumption that at some point I'm going to get a PS2. I think here I have these two that I got last year at a Goodwill for like $5 each, and that's Xenosaga Episode 1 and Phantom Brave, which had a PC release last year at some point, I believe. So it's on PC now, but that's where it got its start, and that particular copy came with the soundtrack, so I don't mind that I picked it up. I'm still pretty happy about that. It's still a pretty good pickup in my eyes. So I'm amassing there a collection of PS2 games, and it'll be nice to have this to go along with it as well. You don't want just role-playing games, you know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. Next up here, I found for 25 cents, Johnny and Clyde. I know nothing about this movie. It looks horrible, but it stars Michael Rooker, and that's pretty much the only reason I got it. Apparently, it's like a kid movie, so to speak. It's a movie, kind of looks like it's family oriented in a sort of kind of way. At least there's a kid in it, so I'm assuming there's a bit of a family oriented bent to it, if you will. But anytime you see Michael Rooker, a character that I at least am more familiar with from like Walking Dead and from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, like this is a guy who plays horrible people typically, and it's a kid movie. Okay, that kind of it's kind of weird, you know. And I got it for that reason alone. It's 25 cents and it's weird. I'm very interested in checking that out. Next up, I found another little weird movie here. This looks like an independent film from Pathfinder Home Entertainment called The Snake. Now, this movie is If Clerks and Dangerous Liaisons Had a Bastard Child. Okay. It looks sexist as fuck, but I'm pretty sure Margaret Cho, it doesn't actually list her in there, but I am like 90% sure that is Margaret Cho. And I bought it pretty much for that reason alone, and because it's one of those rare, weird movies that I've never heard of before, and I looked it up online, and, you know, it's not necessarily something that's easy to come by, so anytime I find something like that, I'm typically interested in checking it out, especially if I can get it for $1. It's like, well, it's only $1, why not try it out? So yeah, The Snake. Next up, I finally found a copy of Willard. I believe this is on Blu-ray now, or at least the original is on Blu-ray. But I definitely wanted to check this one out again because it's been so long since I originally watched this. I want to say it's been like 15 or 20 years since I watched this. And yeah, I wanted to go back and check it out because I don't remember really liking it all that much, but people have told me that it's a pretty good movie. I remember thinking it was okay, but I've been told since then I need to revisit it, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check out Willard again here, especially only for $1. I've come across copies like this in the wild before, but the disc was always in really crappy condition, so glad to finally find a copy that would actually play. Next up, I found a really interesting little pickup here. The Year of Living Dangerously, starring Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver. Never heard of this movie, but I've heard of those two people, Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver, and apparently this is an out-of-print DVD, or at least it's fetching the kind of prices that you would expect of an out-of-print DVD. And I read the synopsis on back, and it sounded somewhat interesting, and I was really interested in checking out some Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver early on in their careers, or at least earlier on in their careers. So yeah, I'm sure it's not that good of a movie, but I didn't really care considering that it was kind of hard to come by and it starred some character actors that I'm familiar with, so yeah, I wanted to check that out. Next I found Advertising Rules, which I swear I've seen this before. I don't think I've seen the movie, but I've seen the case on, I want to say like rental store shelves, like the last time I was in Blockbuster maybe or something like that. And it looked interesting at the time, and I kind of wanted to check it out, but I don't think I ever did. So, yeah, very interesting looking at the back and checking out the synopsis. It sounded like an interesting movie. Sounds pretty funny. I am definitely interested in checking this one out, but I don't know much about it. I'm pretty sure it's a foreign film directed by Lars Kraum. I'm pretty sure it's a foreign film, but it'll probably be pretty good, you know. These weird little movies like this. I love finding weird little movies like that. Next up, I found another weird little movie, and that would be Dear Wendy. This is also a really weird sounding movie, directed by Thomas Vinterberg of The Celebration, and written by Lars von Trier. Written by Lars von Trier. That's what sold me on this, I'll tell you right now. Dear Wendy is an audacious and stylish exploration of guns and violence in America. When a young loner named Dick discovers a vintage handgun, he finds himself strangely drawn to it in spite of his pacifist views. Soon he forms a secret club with other misfits in his town who collect and revere antique guns and refer to themselves as the Dandies. But despite their firm belief in the most important dandy rule of all, never draw your weapons, They eventually discover that some rules are meant to be broken. Apparently things go south at some point. But definitely looked interesting and sounded interesting, and I was just like, I kind of need to check this out. This is Lars von Trier? Yeah, okay, I'll check it out. Next up, this is probably the best pickup I found here because I am 99% sure this is out of print, and I've never seen this anywhere before ever. I'm sure it's a pile of crap, by the way, but Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne in Trick or Treat. Do you ever see this anywhere? Have you ever even heard of it? I'm sure a lot of you have. But I definitely love me some Halloween-inspired movies, and I definitely love me some horror movies. And Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, I was immediately drawn to it. And then I found out it's out of print and kind of hard to come by, so yeah. Oh, it's the full screen version too. Ooh, I'm sure that's like the only version that was ever released, but whatever. Yeah, very cool to come across this, and glad to have it in my collection. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but if it isn't, at least I'll be able to get some money back on it. I'll tell you that much. And I bet you anything that my friend Skinslip is going to take one look at that and say, if you don't want that, I'll take it. So, yeah. Anyways. Next up, I found Star Wait, which is interesting because I had to wait for somebody before I could bend down and pick it up. I've never heard of this movie, never seen it, but it looked like an interesting little documentary here about the people who waited in line for the new Star Wars movie, for Phantom Menace. Which, yeah, how do you feel about that now? Oh, this is actually for this is for Phantom Menace, I believe. And there's apparently an extra feature including Star Wait again for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, I definitely want to check this out, and I'm sure, I looked online, it's not necessarily worth a lot of money, but paid $1 just to check it out. I'm sure it'll be worth $1, you know. Next up is a movie that I have passed on in the past thinking that it was put on Blu-ray, and maybe it was, but it's still kind of hard to come by. And that would be Pauly Shore is Dead. I have heard so many good things about this movie. I've heard it's absolutely hilarious and brilliant, and you need to see it. Even if you don't like Pauly Shore, you definitely need to see it. There are a lot of actors who starred in this movie. A lot of familiar faces. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I just can't wait to finally check this out because I never got a chance to before. So, yeah. Definitely cool to find this there for $1. The last time I found it there, I put it back and I have regretted it ever since. Well, no more regrets. I have it. Next up I found, I think, another one that's out of print here. And this one is a movie by John Landis that I don't believe has been put on any other format. Well, any better format, that is. Maybe it has. If it has, let me know in the comments below. But I found Innocent Blood. Don't know much about this movie other than the fact that it was directed by John Landis. It looks interesting. I don't know if it's going to be that interesting, but it looks interesting. Unfortunately, this is the standard version, but I'm sure that, like a lot of other movies, or at least some other movies at the time that were put out in these cases like this, I'm sure that it's probably the case that this was the only release it ever got. It only was ever released in standard edition. So whether or not that's the case, I didn't mind paying $1 for this considering how hard it is to find. So yeah, I will definitely jump on anything by John Landis because he's such a freaking amazing director and visionary in Hollywood. So yeah, very, very cool stuff. Can't wait to check this out. It looks cool too, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure it's not that good. It's probably one of his worst movies ever. But I didn't care that much because, yeah, John Landis. I can't really say anything else. I can't really defend it any other way. It's John Landis. Hey guys, have you heard of John Landis? It's John Landis. So now we are down to our last 3 titles here. And the first one here is Airheads, which I know is on Blu-ray, but from what I can tell, the Blu-ray is now already out of print. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why that happened, but I went looking on my Amazon wish list, where I've had it for quite a while, and was looking to see if it went down in price, and I've been waiting for it to go down in price, and it never did. And sure enough, lo and behold, the only offering was for a used copy for $199.99. What? What happened there? Whatever happened there, I don't care. I'm not going to pay that much for a fucking Blu-ray of Airheads. I'll just get the fucking DVD for $1. Problem solved. I love this movie, but not $200 love this movie. Next up, I found An Evening with Kevin Smith, and the discs were all in pretty good condition. I've seen this before, but never in good condition, so very glad to get this in good condition. Especially considering I have An Evening with Kevin Smith 2, Evening Harder, which I got from Half Price Books for probably about the same price quite some time ago. So now I've got 1 and 2. Gotta love some Evening with Kevin Smith stuff. He's just hilarious when he does these shows. Just fantastic stuff. And it's been so long since I've seen both of them, but it's been so long since I have that it'll be fun to revisit them when I finally do, because I'll have forgotten so much. The only thing I really remember is this, when he was talking about Prince and working with Prince. But yeah, that's why it will be so much fun to go back and watch these once I finally get the chance. So yeah. Last but not least, I found Audrey, the Audrey Hepburn collection. Roman Holiday, which is kind of factory sealed. I don't know, whatever you want to call that. I don't know if this has been put on Blu-ray yet, but I also don't know if I want it if it is on Blu-ray. So I figured I'm going to give this one a shot. I've heard it's a very, very good movie. For $1, yeah, I'll put it in there. I'll get it for $1 and check it out. So yeah, that is that. That's the last one I got, and I'm running out of time here on my memory card, so I gotta hurry up and finish this one off. But yeah, pretty cool stuff there. And of course, whoa, I got a big old thing here of movies right there. And of course, there's the Blu-rays that I picked up. Pretty cool Blu-rays as well. Everything was $1 except for that one Michael Rooker movie, which looks ridiculous. Anyways, that'll do it for me today, you guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.